All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition of COVID Talks once again. Welcome, Western Cape Teachers family. I know it's Western Cape Teachers Forum, but I'd like to refer to us as family because we've spent the last couple of weeks together and commented and liked and engaged, and I quite like the excitement that has been growing in the last couple of weeks as we introduced the guests as we went along. Now, some of us might wonder, is this the same page that we've looked at for the last couple of weeks? Yes, it is. We've just rebranded slightly, and the reason for that was just to go in line with our founding principles, which is to educate, to empower, and to excel. So we educate through dialogue, through conversation, through sharing resources, through pooling ideas, and in that way we empower ourselves to excel so that we can grow from strength to strength. Now, in tonight's edition of what we call COVID Talks, we are chatting to a head of department of her school. She's a language expert. She's a teacher that's very passionate about teacher development. And in that manner, she serves on the Primary Science Program Advisory Committee. And she has 7 years of experience in the education field. And tonight we are chatting to Ms. Theola Phillips, and she's joining us tonight with her smart New York cap on. People might ask, what is the story with the caps tonight? Well, in spirit of Youth Month, we've decided to in keeping with our youthful spirits, we've decided to sport our caps. So Theola, good evening to you.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good evening, Lee. I'm doing well, thank you. And yourself?
Great. Thank you for asking. Now, Theola, just give us a brief introduction, and who is Theola Phillips? Where Theola Phillips? We've seen the face, we've seen it in the last couple of days, but just who are you?
Well, I am firstly a mother. I would always say I'm a mother. First, I have two beautiful children, one 9 and one 2 years old. I have an interest in photography. I don't have much time to do that though. And then, as you said, I'm passionate about newly qualified teachers in our education system. So in a nutshell, I work hard. I'm a workaholic, and I believe in working smarter. If I can find a shorter way to do something but still do the right thing, then yeah, and I believe in working with integrity as well. That is something I'm big on. So that is me in a nutshell.
Wow. Now, why did you become a teacher? Out of all the professions in the world. Just very quickly.
I became a teacher. It wasn't my first choice. I actually studied something else, human ecology, and then afterwards I changed because I had this the need to work with learners, and I always felt that I had a drawing to learners in Mitchells Plain. I was in grade 1. I went to West End Primary, and I always wanted to go back there. So I remember I prayed this one day and I said, Lord, just put me where I am needed. So how many years later, I am there again. And I don't know how long I would still be there, but I know there's one teacher from Forest Heights Primary, Miss Wanza. She's the actual reason I became a teacher because she inspired me a lot. And here I am today, and I still speak to her up until today. So yeah, that's me.
Wow. And I'm sure that she's very proud of you as she looks back and see how her work or the contribution that she has made in your life has actually contributed to the fantastic teacher that you are today. Now, Theola, we've spoken the last while about COVID-19 and how our educators have responded to the demands of the new normal. Now, you as a teacher at the primary school, we know the grade 7s are back at school. How have you managed to respond to some of these demands that have now been placed on our teachers?
Okay, so I'm just gonna take off the set now. In the lockdown, when the lockdown started, I was privileged to go to school to help feed the learners. At first, I was very apprehensive because it was COVID, it was new, we didn't know what it was all about. And the day I saw on the news how the community had an uproar due to the poverty and no work, no pay, and my heart broke into pieces because on the news I could see some of our school learners there as well. And from there, that is where my mind shifted, that this is something where we are needed for. It's not maybe something that we want, but it's something that we need to go back to school. And from there, we had the privilege to go to school. Our SMT worked closely. So from that day, we could do planning and we could go through the guidelines. So way before the SMT actually started on the 18th of May, our SMT already had a head start. So we could go through the documents, we could discuss the documents. So that is the one part of it. So I feel that we were prepared, and I believe if you plan, then it's better. It's just always better to plan. And then also our PPEs, I know that was a great concern. But when we went to school with in regards to the lockdown period, when we had the feeding scheme running, our PPEs were there already because we were volunteering, and our district was very on it. So we received our mask, we received the sanitation goodies, and we received everything on time. And I must say that some of those things were delivered on weekends, and our staff was there and they could receive those goodies. So in that respect, we had everything we needed and we could continue with that. With the human resources, that was the physical resource, human resources, um, from the get-go, I remember I told our principal, I don't want to be here, I am scared. And I think everybody was just anxious, and we had the conversation going. So I'm a firm believer in if people should be listened to, even though we can't do anything about it at sometimes. People need to be heard, and we don't always have the answers to the questions posed, especially in this time now. So when the teachers came back to school, it was vital for us to be prepared and look prepared, and that we don't fall around on our feet. So we had a whole week of orientation, going through the guidelines. We had 2 days where we did workshops on ICT. How do we prepare our educators to work with the learners who are at home? And I must say that was very proud of our educators who had comorbidities, because they came to school in that week and they were part of the planning. So we were truly like a family. And then only after that, we split our parts actually. So they're working from home now, but they were part of the planning process and they could be in actual part. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I can sense the passion that you speak with. I like what you say when you say you, as much as you didn't want to be back at school because you were scared, and that's a very, very real, and I mean, it's to be understood. But I like what you said when you mentioned, I was privileged to be back at school. Now that speaks to me about your passion about the work that you do. I mean, if you're in a privileged position to serve the community. So despite the fear that I have, I still regard it as a privilege. Wow. Well done. I mean, that caught my attention. Now, we know that before the teachers went back to school, the grade sevens we were then informed that grade sevens and 12s would return to school. And so some people said, yeah, but why must the rest of the teachers go back to school? Why can't the grade sevens go to school and learn? Because they teach. Now, at the school currently, whilst the grade seven educators are engaged in class teaching, what is the typical day like for the rest of the staff in complex?
Okay, so in my experience at our school, you will hear a lot. I'm speaking as Theola now, not Theola, the HOD. I'm speaking as myself. However, I will refer to us and we because it's always a we. I can't do anything on my own, right? So at our school, the grade 4 to 7 educators, we are teaching the grade 7s. So we have taken the group of learners and split them across the grade 4 to grade 7 educators. So all of us are teaching. And then we have our specialist teachers, like the maths. all of us are capable of teaching the languages, but we know the maths, we sometimes need those specialists. So we have the specialist teachers that would go in, but also we have the teachers that who are homebound. They would Zoom in and do the maths lessons with us. So that is something that works great. And then also we have educators that does the pre-recorded lessons and things like that. But now foundation phase educators, they help us out in regards to the interval duties. So when we have been in class, for example, the entire day, then they would go out for our intervals, because we have now more intervals than normally. So that is just to avoid teacher burnout, you see, because it can be difficult at times, and we need to go to the ablution facilities and make coffee and have something to eat. So, and when they are not on interval duty, they would be busy planning, going through the ATPs, and also doing some Zoom lessons with the learners who are at home. And then we have the mediation of our ATPs with our district officials. So that is also something that they do in the meanwhile.
Okay, so just for the benefit of our listeners, ATP, does that mean amended teaching plan? Am I correct in assuming that?
Yes, yeah.
All right. So, okay.
That is the trimmed curriculum.
The trimmed curriculum. All right. So we'll speak about that in a minute. Now, do you find that there are parents who decided or opted to keep their children home, the grade 7 educators, or do you have the full complement of grade 7 learners at your school currently?
Okay. At our school, we have the learners who have informed the school that they have comorbidities. So obviously those learners are at home, but then we also have other parents who have decided to keep their children at home for various reasons. So we do have some of the learners at school. I have looked at some of the notes that went around, and I can say that our school's attendance is more than almost like 10 to 20% more than what it is in the district, the rest of the district. So our learners do come to school, and those who do come, they enjoy school. It's just at times they are a bit mute, but we do still have open seats.
No, I completely understand. Now, how would you say, now I know the issue of social distancing is, I mean, as a teacher myself, I don't know how possible that really is, but we still need to try and enforce the whole idea of social distancing, as difficult as it may be. Because I know that very first day back at school after a long holiday, even after the weekend, the learners are excited to see us, they're excited to see each other, they want to hug, they want to kiss, they want to jump on each other, they want to play. So are you winning the social distancing idea?
Okay, when the learners come to school, we have the social distancing up into the classroom. So we are trying, or not we trying, we don't have more than 20 learners in a classroom. So we have the social distancing in the classroom, and then when the learners go out for interval, because the foundation phase educators are on duty, they enforce that. Now I've walked around, like, because I'm HOD, I must also monitor. When I do walk around, you must constantly remind the learners, okay, remember, you need to social distance. But at this time, they are so happy to be outside. They are running around. But we have different sections for the different classes who has the interval. Yeah. Sorry, who have the intervals. So I have noticed today that the learners, they do sit apart. It's like but anyway, they get used to the idea. It takes a bit, it takes time, but they're getting there, I think.
I saw a video now the other day about I'm not sure the school, but it's in a different province where the learners were actually playing with each other's masks, and they were running racket in the classroom, but I failed to catch the name of the school, but I think it's a different province. But now I know for an adult, the wearing of a mask can be it could be a very limiting, claustrophobic, it can become a bit too much, especially when you wear it for hours on end. Now, do you experience the same among the kids, or are they quite diligent in keeping the masks on?
Look, you have the learners that they are still very withdrawn in the classroom. So they do wear their masks, but there are at times when they just lower it a bit like down to the nose,
Yeah.
especially in the classroom. So they do take it off a bit. And then also I've noticed that obviously when they are outside for interval, they would remove their mask to have lunch.
Okay.
The other day I felt so bad because I asked the learner to put the mask back on, but when I looked in her hand, she was busy eating.
Ah, man.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, so they do try to put it on, but then we have those our special learners who try to tempt you,
Yeah.
who try to tempt you, and they show you, but I'm taking my mask off.
Yeah. But
So, but
yeah,
yeah.
but apart from the special learners, there are special adults as well. Some of us have to be reminded as well about the whole social distancing and the mask and so on. So, I mean, I wouldn't be too hard on the kids if they forget. I mean, but there's a degree of compliance that's
Mm,
important. Now, Theola, apart from now, you would probably know every Friday I try and keep the page free from all the hard stuff, the serious stuff. And Friday, I've almost turned into a feel good Friday type of a thing where I try and share positive stories all the time, only because we are currently in such a difficult time as educators,
mm,
as parents, as learners, and on a weekly basis, do we see the number of infections that are rising? In fact, on a daily basis, and on a weekly basis, we almost report about educators that have succumbed to COVID-19. Now, you a young teacher and you're a young leader in the making, you're a young leader in your own right. And so how do you as a leader, as a teacher, keep your wits about yourself? How do you maintain positivity? How do you maintain your emotional, your mental health to ensure that you don't, uh, go below that line where because depression is very real. I've just seen earlier on about a principal's wife that tried to set herself on fire, commit suicide because of the stigma that is attached to COVID-19. So what would you, how do you approach that particular side?
okay, Lee, if I can just go back to before I went to school for the 18th of May. Um, Before that, I had to distance myself from all the COVID news. I won't lie to you. I just felt overwhelmed, and the numbers were rising, and it was just bad. It was doom and gloom everywhere. So I had to make a mental shift, and I decided, listen, yeah, I'm going to be resilient. And this is also where you start. Okay, I'm a Christian, so read Bible, and your prayer should always be on point. So I've done that also. And then also I try to, my children, I've got 2 children. Now for mothers, it's difficult. I won't lie to you. Yes, you fathers are there, but it comes down to the mothers. So in this time, I know we can't send our children away, but I've tried to send my 2 kids to family members so that I can just have my space alone and just recoup and take my time. I've tried reading, but the reading didn't work for me because my mind was all over the place. But just to get out of it, and when my children were here, I spent time with my children also, and just put the phone away and listen to music, dance to Zumba. I would do that also. But yeah, just surround yourself with positive people also, man.
Yeah.
And just keep the COVID news a bit to the down.
Mm,
Just a little.
mm.
So, and then also I speak. I I speak constantly. I wouldn't just sit there in the corner. So if I have a problem, I'm going to speak about the problem. Even if nobody listens, I'm going to speak so that I can get it off my chest. So I would always, sorry, before we return to school, I told the educators that work with me, listen here, you need to prepare yourself mentally because we are going back to school. It doesn't seem as if the schools will be closed for long anymore. I can't say when the schools will open, but you need to start preparing yourself mentally to go back to school.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it.
Sure. No, that's powerful. Now, just to quickly touch on the teachers with comorbidities. Now, surely that must. I'm not sure what the situation is where you find yourself currently at your school, but there are many teachers who are currently at home, who have either been granted the concession to work from home, or they are in the process of waiting for the outcome. Right, so they've made application, but in that time they remain at home. Now it's very tough. I mean, we can't necessarily, not all of us can teach from home because we may not have internet connection or the necessary resources to do that. Now, how does the school, how do you guys then manage that particular process? Or are you affected by teachers with comorbidities in there, And then how does that impact
Mm.
the rest of the teachers or their particular workloads?
Okay, so obviously all of us have different skills. Okay, so I can't expect somebody who's a bit older than me to have the skills that I have, because we know that the younger educators, they have had computer training, but now if we look at the educators who have comorbidities, it's mainly our older educators, right? So we must be sensitive in that regard and not to impose our skills or what we know onto them. And now it's already they anxious, they have this comorbidity, and now we have this as well, we must do all of this. So we try to engage everyone, like we have a WhatsApp group where we send everything in there. Sometimes it's overwhelming, but we keep abreast and all our information is in there. So everybody who teaches grade 4 to 7, we are in that group with our educators who are teaching from home. So we have, like, for example, one of our educators, he does the Zooming
Hmm.
brilliant. And so we can say, for example, if he does maths, then we can go into all 12 classes and all would be involved in that one lesson. And then another educator makes the pre-recorded videos. Now this is something new, you see, something we can be proud of, because progress has happened, growth has happened, something that wasn't previously there. And then we have educators now, they would send their work, and then we would assist with making slideshows, because we need to remember that all our learners, they are in different classes, so it's easy um, to fall behind. So we try to keep the unity there within all the classes. So, but the not being there physically, sometimes it do get to you, and as a HOD, it becomes difficult because you have the educators at school which you must manage or lead,
Yeah.
and the educators at home. And now I'm a grade 4 teacher, and I must worry about my learners who are at home, because I must send them also work, because it becomes a bit difficult at times.
But for sure, and I mean, we are gregarious in nature. We thrive on human interaction. As much as
Yeah,
the technology is there, look at us now. We in two different locations, but we are having a conversation. Now, the conversation part we can do, but you still miss that human engagement or
yeah,
interaction. You see, so nothing beats that. And this, I just want to quickly check on the feed. Who's joined us? There's quite a number of people. Welcome everybody. Eugenia, hi. Eugenia's all the way from the West Coast, and I think you know Eugenia. She's going to be
yeah,
chatting to us in the coming days. Jacques Martin, Liam Johnson, Fasiha Solomon, always a faithful listener. Hi to you again. Chesley Aronson, and there's quite a number of people. Good afternoon, good evening, colleagues. Welcome. Fabian Reed again, Chesley Stevens. Elisha Fero says, my grandson has allergies and touch his eyes every second. What do we do in this case? Please advise. Mas Faru, I want to not be in a position to advise here because we're not medical professionals, but I mean
yeah,
we take note of your comment here. AJ Paulson, Adri Paulson from Mitchell School of Skills. Teaching is a profession that creates all professions. Stay strong, colleagues. Thank you for that
mm,
encouragement, Adri. Jade Damonsa or Damonzi, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Jade, welcome. Jade is a teacher that ik wil nie verkeerd praat nie, but I'm gonna try and get into contact with Jade because Jade has a very beautiful story to tell. She embarked upon this fundraising initiative. I think it was to feed the children, but I don't want to speak out of turn. I have my facts twisted, so I'll chat to her. Maybe I can get her on at some point. Um, and then there's a number of other people. Fatima Abdullah, for example, these older teachers are not necessarily not computer literate. I know of many older teachers with excellent technology techniques when presenting lessons. No, I know that absolutely.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so I mean, in my experience, I mean, I've taught at not a lot of schools, but the schools where I taught it, there are the complement of educators that are intimidated by the technology, young and old alike,
yeah.
and then there's some of us that are extremely, skillful in that. So now we take note of that particular comment. All right, so welcome, colleagues, welcome to the rest of you. I can't mention each and every one of you, but there's over 130 people currently tuning in. And I'm sure a lot more will see this video after we've concluded. Now, very quickly, Theola, the curtailed curriculum, right? Um, in your planning, right, towards the balance of 2020, having looked at the curtailed curriculum and the amended teaching plans, are you confident that given the time left and considering the new or the updated academic calendar, are you confident that you'll be able to meet the curricular outcomes as it we set out in the curtailed curriculum?
I wouldn't say confident, but I would say hopeful. You see, at this point, the grade sevens are at school every day. But we are going to get to the point where they're not at school every day. So it will be every second day. But we know the curriculum was already content dense. Okay, so some of the topics were taken out, but not in grade 7 as much, because they need to go to high school and they need this information or this knowledge to build on in grade 8. So I would say that for the grade 7s to now, it's still fine because we have them every day and we don't have discipline issues at this current state now. So you can actually go in and you do your lesson, and the only problem is we can't do an informal assessment as much really, because now we are so used to going to the learner, go check self and say check there again, but now you need to keep your distance. You see, so that's a bit difficult.
Yeah.
With in regards to so the grade sevens, if we know the caps, it's normally term 1 and term 3 as similar topics, and then term 2 and term 4 as similar topics. So what happened now, as I have seen it, is that some of those topics that are repetitive has been not taken out, but it has been merged. So we only do, say for example, if we had fractions term 1 and term 3, now it has been merged. So we're not doing it again. So there's no time for consolidation again later in the year. So if you do it now, you need to do it right, and it's done, and we're going to cover it again next year. I have heard Angie Mochega say something on the news now, but we know we can't run a school on news headlines. Okay, so we wait for the formal notification.
Okay.
Grade 6 also. Yeah, okay, no, let's continue.
No.
But
Please
I
go
don't
ahead.
know,
Please go
we're
ahead.
going to try, hey? The grade 6 it's exactly the same. Some of the topics have been taken out and it's not as content dense anymore. But the educators must just be reminded that we don't draw up our planning from textbooks, because sometimes textbooks can give so much information, but it's not what CAPS has provided or prescribed. So we need to follow what the ATPs say. So, but we're going to try. We're going to try our best.
No, absolutely. And that is good enough, your level base. Now tell me, do you think there is a need for teachers to reinvent ourselves during this time? In other words, should we consider a change in the way in which we teach, or how, in the way in which we present the content to the learner, given this new normal that we find ourselves in?
Okay, so Lee, this year is now the first year that we have our smart boards at school, and I can say that it's much easier to reinvent the way we're teaching, because now you can have the videos and you make it visual, audio. So it's nice to reinvent there. It's actually convenient, so you can have an interesting lesson and the learners can grip the information fast. But now, if I just think back, if this would have happened last year, where we did not have that, and I know there are many schools who don't have those resources, it becomes a bit difficult, because now you need to think way outside the box, and we don't have group work. So now you need to think on how can we do this, and our discussions are limited. If we look at the language trimmed curriculum, the discussions also have been trimmed down, and yeah, we need to change it completely in regards to how we present our lessons, because it must be much more interesting to grab the learner's attention, because now at this point we are back to chalk and talk, because we can't engage with the learners. And I mean, we don't want to go back in education. We would like to move forward. So I would have been grateful if we could assist the schools who don't have these resources. But at this point, our school is very privileged to have these resources at our school.
Yeah, I'm almost tempted to ask you a very difficult question, but I'm not going to put you on the spot. No, no, no. You don't comment on this one. Don't even respond. But yeah, there's been growing calls by a group of principals to have schools shut down because we've not reached our peak yet, and so there's quite a number of reasons that they've advanced as to why they believe schools should shut down. And so, yeah, I'm just thinking about that. But again, I don't want you to answer on that one. I don't want you to compromise yourself if you're not comfortable with it. So, Theola, we've we've almost reached the end of our conversation here. So the only thing left to do is for you to tell us, obviously, give us some inspirational message to the teacher. But before you do that, do you believe or do you agree with me that a teacher must be able to think, they must be able to think on their feet?
I would believe so.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions, right? And so you need to answer it as best you can. Number one, why didn't the chicken cross the road?
I was probably wanted to stay on that side.
Because there was a KFC on the other side. Okay, question number two. Why did the man with no hands cross the road?
Because he had feet.
To get to the second-hand shop. Come on.
No, man.
All right, question number three. What do you call a fairy that hasn't taken a bath?
A dirty fairy.
Stinkerbell.
I don't.
Right, second last one. Why do bees hum?
They don't.
They do. Why do they hum?
They zzz.
It's because they don't know the words, right? All right, last one. Because you're an English teacher, a language expert. You should be able to get this one. How is an English teacher like a judge?
Say again?
How is an English teacher like a judge? What do they have in common? An English teacher and a judge.
I don't know. They criticize the way you use your language. I don't know.
They both give out sentences.
Ah.
All right, Theola, that was just for fun. And I always end off our engagements with asking the guests to leave us with some encouraging words. Give us a message of hope to our teachers, to our learners, to our parents as we, some of us, we're very uncertain. Some of us are actively pursuing this idea to have schools closed. Others are sitting in their corner waiting for something to happen. Others are very vocal. Some are sitting and so we've got a very mixed breed of emotions in the education space at the moment. So what would you say as a message of encouragement to all of us tonight?
Okay, I would just want to start off by saying that even though we are all in this, it's not the same for all of us, right? So I want us to respect each other and our views and our opinions in regards to what's happening around us. Okay, so we're all at different schools, all have different staffs even, and everything is just different. So we can't expect whatever's working at your school should work at a different school as well. So we need to be sensitive to each other's emotions as well and how we feel. And then also for the parents, just know that us as teachers, we will always try our best to give the best to the children because we regard your children as our children. Like I would say my children, you are my people and I'm your person. So just be kind to us as well. Keep communication open with the school. Don't just be at home and comment on Facebook, but be involved where it makes a difference, man. Like I would always say, go to the place or the person who can make a difference. Let's not just complain on Facebook. So let's make this change together. It's difficult for all of us. So let's just be kind to one another and respect one another. And after everything, our safety is first. Like I also have my opinions in regards to the schools opening, but I won't mention it on this platform. So yeah, let's be kind to one another and be sensitive to each and every person's emotions and what they're going through. And yeah, keep praying and be safe.
Sure. So let's spread kindness and let's pray for one another and be safe. Thank you very much. Your colleague just said that Eugene Constable says Jody jokes is droog. Thank you, Eugene, for ondersteunende commentaar. Now, Theola, you know what? Allow me to thank you tonight for your excellent input here into our conversation. You know, when I ask people to come onto the show, I keep on saying it, it's people that I believe are either going to go very far in the education space, people that have made meaningful impacts, and people that I believe can contribute to this conversation that we keep on going. I may not always stay on the topic that we're covering tonight, but I mean, we all have so much to offer. And so thank you for allowing yourself to be part of this. It's an absolute, and it was an absolute treat to chat to you tonight. And I wish you nothing but the very best as you continue to make waves in education. You're part of the primary science program. There's some exciting things coming up for you, I believe. Um, uh, Professor Janssen said now, 2 days ago, that if ever there was a young teacher leader, I'm paraphrasing here, then it is Theola
Yeah.
Phillips. So my word, if Prof was able to say that, I don't know what the relationship is, and I don't even expect you to divulge anything, but the people are recognizing your worth. And I mean, thank you for what you have to offer, and God bless you as you continue to impact the lives of our children meaningfully.
Thank you, Lee, and thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for creating this platform as well for educators and parents and everybody else to just have this conversation.
Most welcome. Speak soon.
All right, thank you.